have a separate like business bank account. Like I cannot tell you how many people have their personal and business finances interlinked. And I'm like, please don't do that. So that's like my silly, simple one where I'm like, guys, I swear if you just do nothing else besides get a business bank account and keep things separate, your life will be so much better.
Hi, Breshia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being on my podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about your business because it's a unique one. So tell us a little bit about what is your business, the name, what do you do, and why did you start your business?
Yeah, so I recently just started my own business, Breshia Bookkeeping and CPA Services. So I offer full service bookkeeping, a little bit of tax here and there, depending on the client, but really focused on bookkeeping and helping people get their finances organized and be prepared for tax season.
That's awesome.
Prior to that, I have had a variety of different roles. I was, I'm a CPA, and so I was doing taxes for a few years. Prior to that, I was in, corporate America. I was in IT audit, risk management, finance operations. So I just have a variety of finance and accounting backgrounds that I'm bringing to this bookkeeping business. And so I started it because I wanted to do something of my own, right?
Yeah.
I'd been working for some really amazing people who inspired me and who I learned a lot from, but was really excited about having some flexibility in my life, getting to make some of my own decisions, pull all of my experience together and create a business and packages that utilize all of my skills that I've tried to develop the past 10 years.
And your ideal customer really right now, like who are you hoping to serve the most?
Yeah, small to medium-sized businesses right now. I love, in particular, working with women-owned businesses.
Yes.
Also LGBTQ businesses as well. I'm part of the queer community, and so that is a demographic that I love to serve as well.
That's awesome.
But I'm really just passionate about helping passionate business owners, right? I love learning about the different types of businesses people have, and so if you're someone that's passionate about your business, I feel like I can come in and find ways to bring the financial aspect to that and help people feel educated and aware of what's going on in their business.
I love that because, obviously being on my side as a business coach, usually one of the biggest gaps is the finance. People start businesses and they don't really think about my financial money side of it from a bookkeeping numbers perspective. I mean, they think like, oh, money's coming in or like, oh, I'll worry about it when tax comes, right?
Once a year thinking about it. I'm like, no, think about it more often, please. Yes.
Right. And get to the tax table. And a lot of times I know when I started 10 years ago, I really was only having that strategic conversation about my taxes once a year.
Yeah.
If that even. And really because my company was set up as a C Corp, it was sort of just like, here's my taxes, honey. And then my husband was having that tax strategy with our family tax person, right? And then these questions would come back and he'd be like, oh, Randy, who's our tax guy.
Randy, we love it.
Who lives out like, I'm really just trying to kill it, to do whatever. Cause I was growing really, really fast. In 3 years, grew to $5 million in revenue. So it was hustling like crazy. More business than I could, count my blessings for was coming at me. So I didn't know what I didn't know. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think in the coaching and mastermind side of it, a lot of times I'll ask people like, hey, are you paying yourself? B, what do you know about your financial numbers? And a lot of times I get that like, look.
Yeah. When people don't know their options, right? Like the S Corp, C Corp, and LLC, Schedule C business and the benefits, pros and cons of any of those choices. And so sometimes, when you're first starting out, you're like, I'll figure it out later. And then it's $5 million later. Yes. And you're like, oh, crap, I probably should have been being strategic as I went along.
100%.
And seeing it grow and making new decisions as you continue to grow. And so I do see that with a lot of my clients, especially the ones starting businesses in the beginning. They're like, it's something I'll worry about later. And I think it's really important. Not everyone needs a full-time bookkeeper, right? You're at different levels, but to have someone to connect with even like once or twice a year to say, here's what the picture of your business looks like so that you're not shocked when tax time comes. Because what I found in my tax practice was that people are either like, oh my gosh, I made way more money than I was expecting and now I owe a bunch of tax. That's not a fun feeling.
No.
Or they realize the massive amount of expenses that they have. And again, once a year, and I'm telling you, your tax accountant is tired when they're talking to you because you're talking to them on April 14th and they're not as engaged. And so that's something I really wanted to bring to my practice is that, yes, I'm your bookkeeper, accounting, but I'm also bringing that CPA lens. And so you're not just relying on strategy that one time of year. You're not just relying on strategy from your tax accountant who's like swamped for those 2 or 3 months during tax season.
Yeah.
And that you have just more visibility into your business so you can make better decisions throughout the year and as you continue to grow, right?
Yeah, I think the year that Torian really kind of blew up and, listen, I grew up food stamps and welfare. So money was really coming in. We were having a lot of success. I paid myself really well. The company did good. And then I remember being, and Ben and I, really work well together. I love my husband and we alternate. Like one year I pay the taxes, one year he does like HSA and the school, the kids' private tuition. Like we alternate. And I remember the year that I had an amazing year was my year to pay taxes. It's like, oh, here's the tax bill. And I literally crawled into the fetal position and was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like it was like a whole person's like crazy salary. The more money than I was so upset. I broke into tears and he's like, I don't understand why you're crying. And I'm like, this can't be right. Like we definitely did something wrong. We should have been more, how are other people writing off more things? How are people getting money back? I didn't talk to him for like 3 weeks. I was so pissed. And he's like, are you gonna, I was like, I already moved money into the account. I'm gonna talk about it. I was just so mad at myself for not being more strategic, for not having met with the tax person sooner, for not thinking of ways to should I have put my car, should I have bought new computers because we needed new laptops. And I was like, oh, I'll just do it next year. It was time to refresh, right? There was just certain things that I wish I would have just had the conversation with somebody strategic. Business wasn't big enough to have somebody on staff.
Yeah.
But again, when I sat down with the person, oh, well, here's some things you could have done last year. And I was like, you jerk.
You're like, I needed to know that last year when I had time to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Or just been more thoughtful about it. I was mad. I mean, Ben's at some point we do have to talk about this. I'm like, I'm never talking about this again.
You're like, let's pretend this never happened.
Yeah. And now I know I could pay my rent a year in advance. I could invest in more professional service, development. I could be more strategic and within the law. Yeah. I'm not doing anything that isn't legal, but just I could be more thoughtful and do that makes sense for the business. Yeah. And I also think when I talk with small business owners, how are the bigger companies getting away with it?
No, we want to be above board. And that's what I tell all my clients. I was a former auditor. And so I am completely above board. We have our receipts, we have our documentation. But I do think it is just like you said about being strategic. And I also think the benefit of having someone you work with throughout the year is they understand your business. Right. So it's if I know you're a wedding planner, I'm able, if I just look at your stuff once a year, I don't have a really good picture of the type of expenses you have or the type of expenses you're missing out on, right? Whereas if you're working with someone even just 3 or 4 times a year, I have a pretty good idea of the type of expenses I'm going to see from you, what may be missing, and you can be a bit more engaged so you see I can advise you on what's missing and not just what's there. And that's the biggest question I get from people. They're like, well, what could I be doing more of? And it's hard when you just meet with someone once a year and people don't understand the ins and outs of your business. Yeah. When I see all your transactions every month and I'm looking at your P&L on a quarterly basis, I start to see trends that I'm able to report back on and then you can make decisions on as a business owner. And so having someone that really understands your business and is engaged, I think is really valuable.
Yeah, and we talk a lot too in the Mastermind about unique propositions or unique differentiators, and there's a lot of amazing bookkeepers out there. This is not by no way discrediting anyone, but the fact that you come with Starbucks, you have some big accolades behind you, but also that audit experience, girl, you need to tout that stuff and tell people what you bring to the table because there are a lot of people who just have an accounting degree, love to bookkeep, their left brain or right brain, whatever that is, Colby's or they're more fact finder, all that fun stuff. I don't, and a lot of business owners, they'll say, I don't want to be in my numbers. I go out and sell. I want to be in the events. I want to be with my customers and that's great, but they need somebody like you that can be looking out for them. Yeah, absolutely. And I think what to talk about myself a little bit is what I do think that I bring to the table is we all have this view of what an accountant looks like and what they act like and what it's like working with one. And I just don't see myself as a typical accountant. I love the numbers. I love getting into the nitty gritty. That does serve part of my soul, but I'm also just a very upbeat, engaging human
who's excited about the bigger picture things going on in your business and is going to be a very authentic version of myself. And I want to work with other people who feel like they can be their authentic version with me. And I guess approachable might be the right word. You know, I think a lot of people, whether they're working with a financial advisor, accountant, it can just feel very unapproachable because it's this language you don't know. And so
they're afraid to ask.
So I try to make it comfortable, approachable. I'm very focused also on education. Like, yes, like I realize most people don't want to be in the nitty gritty details of their books, but also you need to understand what's going on, right? Because business owners that just say, just whatever, they lose sight of what's happening and then can't make the strategic decisions. And so I'm really passionate about just like educating business owners, especially new ones, on the basics so that they feel equipped with that like language and knowledge as they move through their business and work with other people. So that's something I really care about as well. Yeah.
And I love that you're looking to be a little bit more strategic and like, hey, I can offer these bookkeeping services, but I can also be a fractional CFO, because there are some businesses that are like, I could use someone to do my bookkeeping.
Yeah.
But this whole, in the last 5 years, there's been this fractional model. I might have a small business and I don't need a full-time accounting person or CFO on my team. But this is someone who can come in like a consultant and maybe they do 10 hours a month, but they're at that CFO or CMO or what CHO, like a CHRO, HR person. They come in and they're basically like a part of my team, but they're consulting and they act in this function as my team, but as fractional. So maybe talk a little bit about how someone could leverage those services in their business.
Yeah, so I think it really looks so different for every business. And think of it almost like you said, it's like they're part of your team, but consulting. And so it's like on an as-needed basis. But I think for fractional CFO, a lot of times it's strategy. It's understanding that, okay, if I continue to grow or, you know, operate at this level, what opportunities are in front of me? Can I invest in this new part of the business? Can I make an investment in a new employee? Like helping them understand the financial impacts of the strategic decisions you're making on as a whole for the business. And so I think having, again, that lens, someone who has the language, the background, like I said, like risk management, financial operations, the CPA, to look at it from all those different angles is really beneficial before making big decisions. And so again, depending on the type of business, you can have different offerings that can also look like, I've seen a lot of fractional CFOs be also in like a process optimization space, you know, so coming in and helping you optimize the way your business operates that will then hopefully help from a financial perspective as well. And so that's something I'm really passionate about and something I did when I was at Expedia and loved doing. So it can be really variable. It depends on what you need, but I think is like getting someone with the right background that can pull all those things together for you can be invaluable. And like you said, more affordable and feasible for small businesses who want that guidance but aren't ready to make a financial investment and just don't need to for a full-time person, right?
Yeah, and maybe project focused where like some small businesses don't know how to write a budget or they don't know how to do cost analysis on like, is my pricing even going to get me where I need to get, or what's happening on a national level with tariffs or different things, like how is this going to impact my business? I don't know as a business owner, but can someone come in as a consultant and look at it and help me like, okay, this is going to hit you 6 months down the road and here's what you need to do to adjust it. Yeah. Here's what these taxes or these different things are going to do. Whatever, if you want to scale and you want to hire in 6 months, here's how you build out that cost model to do that. Like a lot of small business owners started projects as a side hustle or as a passion project. They don't have that financial brain to do that. That's perfectly okay. Yeah. But you can have a fractional CFO come in on a 6-month engagement or a year-long engagement or 3-month and be like, here's what I look at my business through that lens and help me out in that way. And I just love that. I think that's a great service to be able to provide.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I mean, so many new business owners, like even me, you feel like you should be able to do everything on your own, right?
Yes.
Like I should know these things. I should learn. Let me sit down on YouTube and look at 1 million hours of things. And it's like, I love that if that's your journey, but that is not everyone's journey. Yeah. And so even for me, having to realize that like, I am not a marketing genius and I probably shouldn't try to be one in my business. And so similarly with this financial stuff, that like I love people getting educated on their own, but you don't have to do it all on your own. Yeah. And that there's different ways to engage finance professionals that aren't like that scale with your business, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think there's too like a great element in there. Like a lot of times women business owners feel that's going on there.
Yeah.
No.
And no one has it all figured out. I've worked with, in my tax practice, bookkeeping, I've seen so many businesses, and what you realize is that no one has it fully together, right? Like, we're all human beings, and that we're all imperfect, and that, you know, some people have different strengths that they've learned how to lean into, and some people aren't aware of their weaknesses, and all these things can impact us. But like, I think that has helped me a lot, is seeing other people run businesses, and I'm like, okay, they're doing it. I'm like, I can do it. You know, it's like sometimes just we start to believe you see what you see on the outside. And I think I've get the opportunity to see what's on the inside of a lot of businesses, and realizing that people are running amazing businesses, but that does not mean it's smooth or perfect. And that's okay. They're still making money. They're still happy. They're still navigating everything. But like, by no means does everyone have it all together.
No. Not at all. Yeah. So what has been like the best thing about kind of starting your own business right now? What are you most excited about?
I think, like most people, I think the flexibility, you know, with my schedule, which allows me to do other things that I'm passionate about as well. I also think that it is pushing me to grow in some ways that I really need to. And so, you know, we've talked a little bit about this, is kind of the sales aspect of things for me, or like the ask, the sale. Promoting myself is something that is a bit foreign to me. And so I'm working on that. And I think that also translates to my personal life, to be honest, as well. Like, speaking up in new ways and asking for opportunities in other aspects of my life. And so I think that like growth, or that push, has been necessary, and something that's been challenging, but that I've really enjoyed and I've seen pay off, which has been really fulfilling, I guess, on a personal level.
It's going to be a big year for you. I'm excited for that, for sure.
I'm excited.
Advice for business owners out there, like going into 2025, when it comes to specifically like your business, bookkeeping and finances, what's your advice for people out there?
I think like the really tactical one, this is going to be silly, but I'm telling you, this is what I see with almost all small business owners, is have a separate like business bank account. Like, I cannot tell you how many people have their personal and business finances interlinked. And I'm like, please don't do that. So that's like my silly, simple one, where I'm like, guys, I swear, if you just do nothing else besides get a business bank account and keep things separate, your life will be so much better. And so that's a simple one. I think on a bigger level, what I would say is that like advice or reassurance that you don't have to do it by yourself. Kind of what we were just saying, is that there are ways for you to engage the people you need at any level of your business. And so there is value in connecting with experts in these areas where you don't feel as strong. And so it doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to reach out and to see what people can do for you. And so I recommend that all businesses at least check in with someone like me and see where they're at, and how someone like me could help them reach their financial goals.
What is the like normal cadence? Like, I do like to at least look through the books, check on that. I think I've seen, you know, cyber theft and different things going on. What is the right clip to like check in? I
would say monthly or quarterly is what I see. If you're someone that really wants to know like the nitty-gritty details, or need like monthly P&Ls for whatever reason, then like a check-in monthly. Also, if you have a lot of transactions, I think I could see like benefits, or if you're really trying to monitor trends at like a close level in like your spending or earnings, monthly makes sense. I think more often with small to medium-sized businesses, I see quarterly. And so they get to see a bit more, you have more data to look at, especially people with not a ton of transactions, just low volume transaction businesses. So again, that's something that depends on the type of business you have and how engaged you want to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Quarterly at minimum, though.
I couldn't imagine not looking at it like on a... I think monthly for me. Like, I just want to know,
like,
I want to know. I need to make sure nobody's like hacked in, and I want to know that things are flowing the right way. And I'm not going to get to a point where it's like, wait, what happened there? Like, that's just my nature. It's just like, I just want to know.
And everyone's different. Everyone has such different like personalities when it comes to that. But
see the successes too. Like, if there's growth and the wins, I want to be able to celebrate that.
Absolutely.
Part too, and be like, oh my gosh, the bank account's growing, or
we like to see
the margin grew. Why did that happen? And how can I move that needle a little bit more? That for me, that's exciting part to do that. So And what about Mastermind work? What advice do you have for Mastermind? What do you think about, like, you're dipping your toe into a new one, but...
I think Mastermind is such just like a valuable community of people and resources for people who are just starting a business. I think it can feel really isolating and lonely to do something on your own, or even like with one or two other people. There are ups and downs that come with starting your own business. And so I think the value in that is just having a community of people to remind you to keep going, that are like, I've been there and I've come out on the other side, that like motivational aspect, as well as, you know, just being around people with different backgrounds, with different experiences. You know, I'm one person with one life. I haven't done it all. And so when new challenges come up, to have other people weigh in and provide guidance, I just know will be invaluable, especially as the business grows. And then just networking, right? Like, I think you just don't know who you're going to meet and what opportunities are in front of you. And so I'm just like such an advocate for getting out there and meeting new people and building connections. And so I think for anyone that's looking for that type of support and connection and community, especially, you know, we've talked about in the world of just online, having something in person especially is just incredibly valuable, being in other people's energy. If you're someone that's looking for that, then Mastermind, I think, is a great fit.
And Mac was talking about that last night, you know, and he was like, it's so different than just being in front of his computer and like just talking to bots all day or just waiting. Like, I just typed my question and I'm just like waiting for the response. I could totally feel that, like, oh, you know, and unfortunately it feels like so much of the world is going to that like disconnection again. Like, we kind of just got out of that with like COVID and everything. And I like to see people and read the emotion and connection, and I know what I know what I don't know what I don't. So, and then sometimes when the feedback kind of comes around, I was like, wait a minute, I had good feedback. So sometimes I like the reassurance that, wait, maybe I had some value to bring to the table. Too. And that makes me feel like I'm on the right path. So I love that, because sometimes I have the right answer and I have valuable feedback and I'm like, gosh, maybe I'm doing okay over here.
Looks like I know a few things.
So that feels good too, you know, to be on that, you know, side of it as well.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. No, I agree.
And I like when I see the growth. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. I got this. Like,
something clicks.
I love seeing that in the moment.
And seeing other people's dreams, right? Yeah. Like, I just think that's such a cool, I've already just from like my short time in it so far, I've learned just about businesses I didn't even know existed and like what people are dreaming about and what they want for their life. And I think just seeing other people like dream and take risks gives you permission to do so as well.
Yeah. And it's so interesting too, because it's like, I think there's this prescribed notion that like entrepreneurship is like 50, 60 hours and the hustle. And it was neat too, because like Shalise was like talking about like, I don't know that I want to work all great. Like, she's on this new marriage and wants everyone's vision of what entrepreneurship and business ownership is unique and special to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the grind. And yet it can be profitable and beautiful and contributing to community. Everyone was that.
Yeah. There's no one size fits all. Like, and I think that is what I've had to take away from it as well. It's easy to just compare, right? We all do it where we're window like, oh, so-and-so's business. They're doing this, they did that. And then just realizing it doesn't have to be your path. That's not the status quo. You don't have to measure up to that, and that you don't have to follow the rules. Like you get to make your own, and what works for you might not work for someone else. And 100%. So reminding myself of that when I get in those moments of comparison.
I love that. So what are you most hopeful for in 2025?
In 2025, I'm really hopeful about just my business in general and growth. And I'm newish to Vegas. I've been here like a year and a half, 2 years now. And so seeing not only it grow financially, but just having my network grow and really feeling like I'm building roots here in Las Vegas, and how that will also just help me develop into a professional and grow this business. And so, just growth, seeing where it takes me, seeing what else I have to learn and who else I connect with over the next year. Yeah.
Well, I am super excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm excited that you jumped in. I'm excited to see what all comes. And I love what you have to offer, because it's super unique and by ways of who you are and all the different accolades that you bring to the table. You're not just a bookkeeper. You have so much more to offer. So I'm excited to see everything that comes. So
thank you.
Thank you for being on my show today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it was super great. If you like what you saw today on the Catalyst podcast, make sure you subscribe to our show, like it, and share it with someone who you think might also find value.